for November 2020. And so grateful to be with you all today. We're midst in our online course of First Steps to Signature Cell Healing, Healing the Self. So I hope that some of you will be able to either look at the recording or join us. We have students from all around the world, from Europe, from the United States, from Hawaii, of course, and from Taiwan, a nice group of people from Taiwan that are coming in the middle of the night for them. So I hope you, next time when we offer it, can join us. But for now, this morning, we are doing our Healing Moments program, which is our monthly program that we have. And the purpose of this program is we are dedicated to healing the self and aging our souls to move forward on our evolutionary journeys. Each month we create a space to look at life's big questions about healing and consciously creating our experience. Together we're finding the answers, tuning into our hearts, and moving into the new dimensional energies. So this month's topic is Spirit is Speaking, Are We Listening? So I also have a article from Goddess Miriam, a channeling, on my website, KarinnaNielsen.com. But before we begin, I'd like to just open with a prayer to center and to open the conversation and the communication with the unseen forces of light and spirit. And then we'll do a short breathing meditation. That said, please just get really comfortable and close your eyes as I call upon the Creator Light, the Christ Light, the Goddess Wheel of Love, and all the energies of the highest light of love from the angelic realm, the Goddess Light, the Christ Light, the forces of love from all other worlds, our guides and our angels, to come forth now in spirit as we gather as light workers here on earth for our Healing Moments program. We pray now that all the energy that comes through with the technical and with the content and with the participation of everyone around the world be in the very highest of love and light, because we're on a journey of healing and love and evolving ourselves and aging our souls. And I pray now all of this from my heart in love, and so it is. Amen. Now, if you just keep your eyes closed and take with me, if you know it, do the 5-breath self-healing meditation, 1 breath at each of the 5 hand placements. But if you don't, just take 5 deep breaths, and I'll do it right here. First one on the crown. Breathe in, lock the breath. Exhale. The next one is at your eyes. So if you got glasses, you got to move them up or take them off. I'll take them off. Breathe in. Let the light go back through your eyes. Next hand placement is at your heart muscle. Breathe in. Exhale into your heart. And the next one is at your 3rd chakra. Breathe in. Exhale. And the last placement at your 2nd chakra, at the bottom of your abdomen. Breathe in. So keep breathing, and what a beautiful way to begin our program today. November, the month of balance. So with that centering prayer, I want to let everyone know that I'm watching us on Facebook. So if you have questions, we're live over there, and you can put your questions in right under the video. And I have the chat going here. You can also reach me on Facebook Messenger, and I'll just open another window so I can see you on Messenger. Let's see if that works. Facebook Messenger. There we go. So if you have a comment there or a question, you can put it in on Facebook Messenger. You can also put it in the regular Facebook feed. And we have the chat. And for those of you that want to come in live, the login information for Zoom is on the Healing Moments page on my website. And there are various links on the homepage that will get you there. And you can just come in. There's a little bit of a waiting room and I'll let you in. So we do this every month on the first Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. Hawaii time. And you can check what the time zone is for your part of the world, but it gets a lot of the time zones, the 9 a.m. So I like that. I want to talk first about the Lemurian numerology for this month because it's quite appropriate. Maybe it always is. The numerology this month is 2, because in the Lemurian numerology, we take the numbers, and if it's a double-digit number or more, we'd reduce it down to 1 digit. And that reduces down to a 2. So in Lemurian numerology, the 2 is the number for balance. And it's balancing the yin and the yang, but you could also look at it as the goddess light, because the goddess light is a number of balance, is a balancing force, right? The goddess light, which is not male or female, it's about the divine feminine that is here on this earth plane to balance the yin and yang reality that we've had for so many thousands of years and move us into a higher balanced energy of love. So we can look at the number 2 as a goddess light. Let me just read the numerology for the number 2. The number 2 is a reminder to move any yin-yang energies into a state of balance. In the third dimensional world, we can find ourselves looking at the right or wrong, or the good or bad of a situation. Feel the perfection of all that is and come to a balanced feeling of love. Because isn't that kind of where we are right now? Balancing yin and yang, good and bad. And you notice I put on my blue today for certain reasons. And it's a time to find balance. It's a time to find love. It's a time to balance good or bad, red or blue, all of that, and come together in love. So I have this feeling that this month of November, the 2 months, is going to give us a lot of opportunities to find balance. If we look at, and just briefly, if we look at the astrology or the celestial energies of this month, we're still in that environment. And I'm don't consider myself an astrology expert, but I dabble in it. And I do readings, Lemurian astrology readings. I have teachers from the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School that I love very dearly. And I love that part, that style of astrology. It's an experiential astrology. And Shamanic astrology is just a beautiful teaching. So I've adapted it to my Lemurian heritage and the wisdom that I've learned from Kahu Fred Sterling and Master Guide Kirill. And you can read more about them on KarinnaNielsen.com or on signaturecellhealing.com. Because I'm also a instructor and facilitator, as well as a practitioner of signature cell healing. So I encourage you also to go to signaturecellhealing.com to find out more about that Lemurian healing modality. Getting back to the goddess light, the goddess light is the energy of love that we all have within us. So male or female, we all have this divine feminine light within us because it is the love of Creator. So we have Christ light, goddess, goddess wheel of love, and creator force light within us in that beautiful trinity. So when you were, before you were born, before you were incarnate, the creator might have said, look, I have a place on earth for you, and you can go down there and you can have another incarnation. And so if you're not into multiple incarnations, we're going to go a little bit far out here, so just take a breath. But the creator force says you can have another incarnation, and you put a plan together, right? You put that blueprint together, your life plan, and you gather it up with you after, talking about it with your guides and your angels and planning this whole incarnation out. Then you wait for that moment when your mother and father come together, sperm and the egg, and then you enter your spark of light with the blueprint into that, creating the Trinity, the very first Trinity in your new incarnation of truth, trust, and passion. Creator light, Christ light, and the goddess energy. And that is incarnate with you in your lifetime in the pineal gland, in the center of your head, in the signature cell. So that's why we call it signature cell healing. And that's why when I do Lemurian astrology readings, we are looking at your life plan. So, wow, there's a lot in there. And if you have questions about that, please, type it in the chat, or I'm looking over at Messenger if you want to put something in there. Yeah, so I do the Lemurian astrology readings, and I do the signature cell healings distance at the moment, and also, of course, teaching signature cell healing online classes right now, which you can find out more about on my website, KarinnaNielsen.com, or at signaturecellhealing.com, or you can email me at KarinnaNielsen.com. Getting back to the energies, the celestial energies of this month, and chime in with a question anytime you like. I want to also say that we're still, I'm just going to get, I have a listing of everything that's happening this month. It's a big month. So we're still in that environment of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn. And I want to get technical about this because we can just look in the media, or we can just look outside our door and see what that means, because it means a transformation of society as we know it. And it really is the great shift in consciousness, as Master Guide Kirill has told us for so many time, for such a long time. And I don't know if you can see it, but I got let's see if you can see it. I got the book back there, Kirill the Great Shift. And here's a smaller version of it, Kirill the Great Shift, which you can get on ebook or print book at the signaturecellhealing.com store. This book, I just reread it recently, and my goodness, there's so much that we need right now in this book. There's about photon energy, it's about ascension. So these astronomical configurations that are going on right now are about redefining what we know of as life on Earth, basically. So it's a complete transformation, and sometimes those kinds of transformation take an upheaval. So we have to have a letting go before we can bring in what's new. So we're mixed in that process of really composting what's been on Earth. So I'm talking about the patriarchy. So sorry, gentlemen, but the men have been in control for a long time. And you may see that clearly now, that there's a transformation happening. Witness our new vice president, which is the first time in our country that we've had a president or vice president that's a woman. So we see that throughout all the different branches of government, communities, a lot more of women stepping forward now. And I give a lot of credit to the younger generations, to the Z Gen and the millennials. I feel these are the young people that Master Guide Kirill called children of the shift. They are here with a new consciousness and a new awareness and questions about why have we been doing it this way, or why are we doing it this way? And people of my generation just been kind of going along with it. It's really a time for change. Actually, when I was younger, you know, I mean, very young, because, you know, I'm a late boomer. There was a lot of protests going on against the establishment and things like that. It just didn't take hold, perhaps the way we wanted it to. And now we have just huge numbers of young people that are going to participate in creating something new on Earth. So I'm grateful. That's what we see going on in the astrology. I also want to mention that we had Mercury retrograde, you know, which is a time of reflection, a time of going into the right brain out of what we normally are in the left brain to figure things out in third dimensional ways. Now on election day, we actually shifted because Mercury went direct on election day, which was amazing. And we'll have Mars going direct on the 13th of November. And Mars is the planet. Of course, it's the, you know, the god of war and all of that, but you can also look at it as the divine masculine that might be moving forward now. It has been retrograde, it's moving forward, maybe embracing a divine feminine and looking for balance this month. So we come back to the numerology. It's also about projects. It's also about things you want to do, moving forward with your life. So you might find then on the 13th of November, you're going to have a little bit more energy because Mars is in its home sign where it feels at home in Aries. And it's actually, I love the placement of it because it's right at my sun. So I know that I'm gonna, and near my Venus. So I'm ready to move forward with whatever's coming. I'm really grateful. Then at the end of the month, I just wanted to mention, we're gonna have a lunar eclipse, and that's on November 30th. Now, eclipses are like windows, portals that open up where we can see things. And this one will be in Gemini, which gives us insights into other worlds, because Gemini is the, like Mercury, is the divine messenger between the human light and the God light, or the spirit light, and moves back and forth. So isn't that interesting as a part of this month, and also our topic, Spirit is Speaking, Are You Listening? So you might on the 30th of November, if not before, begin to open to, you know, what could this possibly mean? Spirit is speaking to me? Are you sure? I don't know. It doesn't sound like it. So, you know, even if you don't consider yourself a spiritualist, or you don't feel that Spirit is speaking to you, maybe it's coming in a way that you don't really identify. So in the write-up today for today's program, I said there's a loving connection into the realms of spirit that is open to all of us. We can choose to expand and work with this seemingly magical channel into other worlds and make it a greater part of our lives. In this month's, we have a channeling this month from Goddess Miriam that is called Spirit is Speaking, Are You Listening? And it's a very nice little article about how we can better connect to spirit. So I'm personally finding really unexpected blessings in speaking with spirit. I always do. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that today. So let's see if there's any questions. I'll take them in Messenger. Otherwise, we'll keep going. I think people might be out, you know, doing whatever they're going to do regarding the presidential election results and in their area becoming finalized. And let me just speak to that just a moment before we go into the topic, because I think it's a time, and I kind of pondered this morning, and I feel like it's time for us to take a moment before we celebrate in somebody's face, or we also get angry about something, because it's a time to be present with what is. And I think over the last 5 days in the United States, we've had time to either go into fear and create a lot of scenarios that might not even happen. We also had time to be present with ourselves and be in love and say, whatever the result is for the highest good of all. And I'm really serious about that. Whatever the result was going to be, I personally felt that there would be something that we all could learn from it. And we certainly may have learned a lot about how our democracy operates in the United States, because when we really look at it, it's operating the way it usually does in an election. The outstanding factor of that, of course, is that we're in a global pandemic, and there was an extraordinary amount of mail-in and mail-in ballots, or not in-person ballots, whatever you call that, absentee ballots, yeah. And for us in Hawaii, it's not as big a factor because, well, it was, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. But we have always had a really high percentage of mail-in votes. So with the primary this year, the state of Hawaii moved to make a full mail-in ballot. So that means everybody that's a registered voter received a mail-in ballot, and we mailed them in, and the primary went really well. On the other hand, with the general election that we just had, what we had was probably, it seems, more people participating by mail. Yes, they probably were prepared for that, but they weren't prepared for all the people that wanted to vote in person. And on our island, on the island of Oahu, there are 2 in-person voting places on the day of the election. They're also open for about 2 weeks prior, so people could go to City Hall in Honolulu or to the City Hall that's out on the west side of the island at Kapolei. And what happened on election day was both places were overwhelmed by about 20,000 people. So there were extremely long lines that we had seen on places in the mainland, and it's coming out now. And this is the astrological energies of Pluto and Capricorn, Jupiter and Saturn, of exposing things that need to be worked on, or things that need to be changed, because it turns out that the state election officials were warned by the local Common Cause nonprofit to open 4 or 5 other polling places on the day of the election, but they disregarded that guidance. So Spirit is speaking in one way or another. Are you listening? So the local officials were not listening, and so there were a lot of people standing in line. The polling places closed at 7 at night, and they were waiting long into the night. So we, who usually get our first returns at 9 o'clock, waited till almost midnight for the returns for our election here in Hawaii. So everybody's learning something, and that brings us back to that idea of Spirit is speaking. Are you listening? It might not be that booming voice that you hear, like God is speaking. If you're on Twitter and there's that Twitter account that's called God, and it's kind of funny sometimes because it sounds, it has this tweet of God, and it's not like that. I mean, I don't experience it that way. Maybe some people do. For me, let me just tell you, I'll come from the I and say, I communicate with Spirit on a regular basis, and I enjoy it. And so how I got started with this, let's put it that way, is when I first met Kahu Fred Sterling and Master Guide Kirill at the Honolulu Church of Light, there was a really large staff and group of people, and we all were exploring different things. We had spirit gatherings in the sanctuary, and everybody, did tarot cards and different kinds of ways of receiving guidance. And one of the ways that we learned to receive guidance was automatic writing. And I really suggest that all of you try this. If you haven't done it, it's also called journaling. And it doesn't involve doing it with your left hand if you're right-handed, or you're, switching the hand. It just means doing a meditation, kind of like we did today with the 5 breaths, and then have a notebook or piece of paper, and then start writing. Just write. If a word comes into your mind, if you hear a sentence, in the beginning, it might just be a word or two. That's what I call automatic writing. So I began doing that many years ago, and I opened a channel, apparently, for guidance to communicate with me, and became a channel. So my channelings are on my website if you want to check them out, on KarinnaNielsen.com. And they're also monthly in the Sedona Journal of Emergence. And I want to mention that and thank all the people up in Flagstaff in Arizona at Sedona Journal and Light Technology Publishing. They're a wonderful, wonderful group of light workers. And that's the premier magazine for channeling. So I'm in there every month, and I really, really enjoy sending my articles to them, and they're so gracious to put them in there. Long story short, what you can do is begin, and you don't have to end up in the Sedona Journal or do, channeled articles or do channeled readings. If you feel like you want to take the steps toward mediumship, like I'm doing, that's fine. But maybe you just want to channel for your own information. So if you get frustrated, or you're angry, or you just don't feel you can understand what's going on, get open, say a prayer, which, as Spirit Goddess Miriam is saying in the article for this month, which is also on my website. Get into a meditation, do a prayer, which is the communication that you're opening the channel, and then start breathing and just listening to Spirit, and then start to write down what you feel in your heart, or you might hear it in your mind, or you might just write it and you don't hear anything, it just comes through. And you might think, well, that is really far out, Karinna, but it might not be as far out as you think. And frankly, it's very practical and it's very useful. And I have really used it to help me through some really difficult times, because, over the years and even now, I can get into a situation where I just feel, maybe I feel a little angry or I feel a little frustrated, and I go straight to meditation because I know there's no answer in anger. There's no answer in not being in love. And there's no answer in being in that yin yang that we're in this month of November, or we're trying to balance it out. There's no answer there. There's an answer in the balance of what we can live when we live our lives in love. So meditation puts me there, and it doesn't have to be, you're sitting cross-legged and you have your mudra going there. Doesn't have to be that way. What you can do is create a space in your home somewhere, or in your bedroom, or in a part of the house that's considered yours. And if you don't have that, if you live in an apartment with other people or something like that, you can create a space where other people know that's your space. And when you're there, you're meditating and they don't bother you, or they're quiet. And if that continues to be an issue, then you can get headphones, get your earbuds in, put the music on, and just start breathing. Do that 5-breath self-healing meditation, which you can learn more about on the signatureselfhealing.com website. Say a prayer. And prayer, I want to say, as Goddess Miriam says in the article, prayer is a communication between us in the human world and the spirit light of guidance. So we're expressing our intention for what we want the guidance to be. So open a channel as you pray and say, my intention is to find balance, to find love, to get answers to this, and then say what it is, or express your intention, what you want guidance for, and then breathe and be quiet for a while. And so in the beginning, it was really hard for me because I couldn't concentrate, and my mind was going everywhere. And so I decided I would just give it 5-10 minutes, and that would be my meditation. And I gradually expanded it until many years ago, about 20 years ago, Master Guide Kirill said to us on the staff at the Honolulu Church of Light, for the new millennium, everybody should be meditating an hour in the first 10 days of the new millennium. And so for many of us, that was like, what, an hour? I was maybe up to a half an hour at that point, but an hour, now I look back on it and I gotta laugh. So what I did was I got a meditation CD that was exactly 60 minutes long. And I put it on, and I put my headphones on, and I listened. And when the music stopped, it actually had 4 sections. So I could somewhere, in my mind, I knew, okay, that was 15 minutes. Okay, that was 30 minutes. And after a while, I didn't even notice the partition of the time. I just noticed when the music was finished. And that allowed me to expand my meditation. You might have something like that you like to do as you expand your time in meditation, because it's really not negotiable anymore that we do a meditation every day if you are working on healing yourself and aging your soul. And I think most of the people that are listening to this now or going to listen to it on the recording are evolving souls that are light workers and spiritualists that are ready to move into the next dimensional focus, a new reality of love. And this is the way to get there, is meditating. And that's just, I'm doing it in the morning and in the evening, and I take a little time out midday to do a meditation. So I want to talk a little bit more about I know what I wanted to tell you too. On the, and we got a question. Let's take the question first, and then I'll tell you about that. So there's a question in Messenger from Aldine. Thank you, Goddess Mahina Ku. Yes, it is a good, thank you. She says that what a good way to introduce folks to meditation and automatic writing, throat lozenge. So it is a gradual process. Thank you, Aldine. So you can't expect that it's going to go really long right away. Just build up to it. And what you'll start to find is it works on the cells of your physical body, and your cells are going to start craving it. Your cells are going to crave the love that they're starting to feel. When you breathe in golden particles above your crown chakra, imagine those, photon, what they talk about now, photon light and prana, whatever it's called, breathe it in through your crown and through the pineal gland. It works with the blueprint, the life plan that you've got there. Bring it down into your heart. When you lock the breath there in between the inhale and the exhale, the forces of love, the spiritual the mental, the emotional, the physical bodies weave together. And then you exhale up your shoulders and out your palms, and you can place that wherever you like on your body. But what happens is your cells are listening and they're feeling that, because all of the 70 trillion cells in our physical body are connected to the signature cell in the pineal gland in the center of your head. So what you do there with the breathing is you're going to empower the cells to feel more and more love, and to align you more and more to love. You're going to amp up the mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of each of the cells. You don't even have to know, what is a mitochondria, it's just happening, right? So when you breathe, it gives you that peaceful feeling. But just so you know, there's a lot going on when you're doing the 5 breath self-healing meditation, or you're doing the deep breathing. You're relaxing your physical body. Your 4 bodies are aligning. And this is what takes us into the new dimensions that are available to us now. And I'll go out on a limb again for those of you that are not always so in tune with dimensional things. But we are in a great shift in consciousness, and that we clearly see from the world around us, that things are shifting and changing. When I first started with Fred Sterling, Master Guide Kiro, over 20 years ago, and we had that book, The Great Shift, had just come out. I mean, a lot of what Kahu was saying in those days, and Master Guide Kiro, seemed really far out, and people just thought it was just wacky, but it's not wacky. It's happening. So we see that now, and it's easier for, I think, people in general to understand what we mean when we say a great shift in consciousness. So thank you for that, Mahina Ku. I'm also going to just check our Facebook and see if there's questions there. I don't see anything right now. Thank you, Mahina Ku. Also, Mahina Ku is saying, I really enjoy being made aware of the astrological energies we are experiencing in the month. It expands my consciousness in the now. Thank you. Yes, I agree. Because the now is where we want to be. And I think we've seen that in the last 5 days in our country. My sister-in-law called us last night before, of course, the presidential race has been declared as Joe Biden is the winner. And so he's called the president-elect now. But when she called, that wasn't known. And she was very, let's just say, curious about what the heck was going on over here, because she's in Switzerland, right? So other countries that they're kind of following along with us, I think it's easy for them to get their information maybe from media sources that might be more in panic, or more likely to amplify things that just aren't based in truth, that might be based in something that could happen or projected in the future. And, I also cannot say tomorrow or the next day going forward how it's going to play out. But what I can say is the democracy that we have in the United States has a certain structure and form. And that's the Saturn energy, getting back to the astrological energies. Saturn is the playbook or the rule book for getting through the 3rd dimension. You do this, you get that. You do this, you get that. But if you put Pluto with it, which it's been together, or you put Jupiter with it, let's take Pluto first, you're going to have transformation. You're going to have deep structural changes that are called for, and you're going to have things that are dredged up for all of us to look at. And adding Jupiter into the mix amplifies everything, because Jupiter is that planet of amplification, actually of also spirituality and spiritual growth. So here we are with those three planets so intricately aligned now and aspecting each other. And soon, very soon, actually next month in December, two of them, Jupiter and Saturn, first Saturn and then I think Jupiter, will move into the next sign, which is Aquarius. So moving from Capricorn, where Saturn is at home, so Capricorn is all about, you know, how communities are structured or how things are done, you know, very, very quite linear this way or that way. Hopefully it's transforming into a more modern way of looking at community and how businesses are managed and things like that. But as those two planets move into Aquarius, we're going to get a lighter energy. We're going to start to see possibilities of what can be in this new structure and form. So Saturn moving into Aquarius mid-month, I think it's the 13th, not quite sure. And then Jupiter to amplify it. We're going to start to feel a lot more hopeful, I think. Capricorn can be a really kind of a heavy, earthy energy, but Aquarius is a lot lighter, and we might feel more light being infused into this, and we will be in between two eclipses. The one that I told you about on November 30th, which opens a portal, and in Gemini, which is, you know, having that air energy. Gemini is also an air sign. And then we'll have more, the next eclipse, excuse me, got a mosquito coming around here. We got rain here. So the eclipse in December. So we'll be in that, what they call the eclipse cauldron or the eclipse portal between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. So it's really it's an exciting time. Things are changing and things are transforming. And I think we can also see that reflected within ourselves. So whatever we see outside of us is a reflection of what's inside of us, right? So, and what's inside of us is reflected outwards. And that's what this astrology is about. However, it's also what reality is about. I'm convinced of that. So thank you, Mahina-ku. I'm grateful that, you know, astrology can help explain the patterns of what's going on, and it really is helpful for me to see what's going on in my own life as well, and for hopefully for those of my clients. So we've got. Oh, okay. I wanted to tell you before Mahina-ku asked her question, and we just have a few more minutes, but I wanted to mention that on the homepage of KarinnaNielsen.com, I brought back an article, a blog article that I personally wrote 4 years ago. And 4 years ago was the last presidential election in 2016. It was also the year and just the same time that my father passed. And he passed in October, mid-October. And of course, you know, the presidential field was already defined at that time. And he and I had been talking about the election and things like that. And then he passed on the 15th. So he never voted in that election. However, the election that came right afterwards, or soon afterwards, a couple of weeks afterwards, was the election that many people in spiritual circles or in my circles panicked about because it wasn't expected. So there's an article that I wrote, and what it motivated it was someone that I spoke to who was really calling me in a panic that night when the results were clear. And she was very panicky. She wanted to know, what should I do right now? And for everyone listening, I would say the same thing now to you as I said to her. What does your heart say you should do? And if you're listening to a lot of media outlets or news or whatever, Twitter or any kind of perpetual news and projections about what could happen. Get back into your heart. Go into meditation. Say a prayer for help. Even if it's just, thank you for helping me understand what's going on in my life. Even if that's your prayer, that's enough. And breathe and go into your heart and listen to what your heart says. So spirit, listening to spirit is in your heart. And it could be the spirits around us. Our angels are always with us, our guides, energies of love from our families that may have crossed over into a new dimension. They're trying to help us. People already in the fourth dimension, fourth light, are trying to help us get through this time. If you're not ready to go there with that kind of idea about that's what spirit is, just think about your heart and think about your higher self, the part of you that's not incarnate, and ask yourself, what would my heart do? What would my heart say? What does my heart say to me now? And that's kind of what I told that lady on that day, because I think there was a lot of projections at that time about what was going to happen and what all could go wrong with, stock markets and everything, just reality in general. And I think that really helped calm her down. I know it calmed me down. So I want to mention another thing before we go, and that is that we have a monthly global healing meditation for Mother Earth that we do with light workers all around the world. And we do it every month about 3 nights before the full moon to create a beautiful energy of love and love consciousness around Mother Earth, around the planet. So if you love doing meditations with big groups of people, here's the one, and you might try it. So we're going to have it this month will be on the 27th, Friday the 27th. That's the Friday after Thanksgiving. All you do is at 9 p.m. your local time, you go into meditation, and the other tools that you can use to do the meditation with us is on KarinnaNielsen.com. It's the global healing meditation for Mother Earth, light workers around the planet. We have a lot of ladies a lot of goddess lights in Australia that join us, and people in Europe, and of course our friends in Japan. And now hopefully our new friends in Taiwan will join us as well. You can go on there and you can hear this beautiful chant of protection from Mahinaku. There's a translation of the chant there as well in a PDF that you can print out, and you can listen to the chant. There's a code that we work with. At 9 o'clock, your local time, go into meditation and send your light down into Mother Earth. Do the 5 breath self-healing meditation if you know it. Send your light down into the core of Mother Earth, and then send it to Diamond Head. And I've got photos there for you to focus on. That's Diamond Head in Honolulu, Hawaii. And what you'll find, well, what I find when I go there, is the light workers from around the planet have been there, left their energy, and the weave is created for us to take around the world. So you can take that weave and focus on different parts of Earth that need healing light. And what part of Earth doesn't need the healing light right now with surging cases in a pandemic? So it's more important than ever to join us, and for me to invite you to join us for the global healing for meditation for Mother Earth. I also want to mention that, these books that I've been talking about, the books by Kahu and Kiro, many of the print books are on a $5 special, so you can get the book for $5 plus shipping. So go into the signaturecellhealing.com online store and you'll see several of the books are available for $5 plus shipping. We have that, and our next Healing Moments program is going to be December 5th, the first Saturday in December. And I look forward to seeing you all again. Please join me live on Zoom, and the connection is available on the webpage on KarinnaNielsen.com. And you can come in live on Zoom, or this time seemed to go well on Facebook. We'll see. But you can join me there too if you like. So I wish you all a beautiful month of November. And remember that it's a month for balance. And remember that Spirit is speaking to us. We just have to listen. And how we listen, let me just say this in closing. We can listen in meditation, but what if we can't get into meditation at that moment when we wish Spirit would tell us what to do, or that we could avail ourselves of that guidance? Just take a breath. Just take a breath and sit back. And sometimes, it comes through in different ways. I read a book many years ago called Life as a Waking Dream. And it was so enlightening to me in those days that I could be walking through my life and something would happen that was kind of like a dream, and it felt kind of like a dream. And I thought, wow, this has got to be telling me something, because it's so unusual. There was a time when I was trying to go somewhere and driving in a car. I was trying to leave a parking lot, and you had to go through a porte cochere. And there was somebody parked right there, and she wasn't moving her car. And I realized the person driving that car was somebody I had been angry with for a long time, and she wasn't moving her car. And I thought, geez, this must be one of those life is a waking dream moments, because she was blocking my evolution, really. Because every time I thought of her, every time I saw her, it made me angry. And remember, I told you there's no evolution in anger. So I decided to take a look at that and release myself from that energy that I was holding, release the anger and just move on. And it really had a wonderful effect. So you might get your guidance in that way. It might not come through meditation, but it might come through an interaction with a friend, or maybe someone who checks you out in the supermarket, the cashier. Your guidance comes through in so many different ways. And I pray that you'll find great ways of experiencing that in this month.